Ladies and gentlemen, this is our Common Craft project. Here we will talk about two of the greatest American presidents, Abraham Lincoln and John F. Kennedy. The project was made by me, Haik Marjarosian, Makia Zorabian, and Dustin Hunt. Abraham Lincoln was the 16th president of the United States of America. He was also the head of the Union during the Civil War. Lincoln grew up a farmer's son. He spent most of his time chopping wood. He soon got into politics when he became the representative of the state of Illinois in the House of Representatives of Congress. Lincoln gained more popularity with his debates with famous Stephen Douglas, a senator and the creator of the Kansas-Nebraska Act. The debates took place throughout the entirety of Illinois, gaining him many supporters in said state. For that reason, he was the nominee for the election of 1860s. His ideals included non-extension of slavery, protective tariffs, supporting the Pacific Railroad, and free homesteads. During the 1816 election, despite lacking any support from the southern states, he still won immensely. He left Stephen Douglas in the dust. However, lack of support in southern states resulted in southern states, including South Carolina, to secede from the Union at some point. This caused many great conflicts, climaxing in the attack of Fort Sumter. Lincoln attempted to keep the Union together, but eventually had to declare a state of conflict with the southern states. He violated his presidential rights and suspended the habeas corpus so he could arrest people as much as he pleased, increased the size of the army, the Union Army, barricaded the southern states away from the northern states, and ultimately did swag things. Jefferson Davis, the southern leader, was unable to do this because southern states would simply not allow him. Lincoln continued his entourage by crushing the southern states with increased financial power. The battle climaxed with the Battle of Antietam, when the northern troops finally beat the southern troops out of northern territories. Due to this, Lincoln presented his Emancipation Proclamation. With this, Lincoln officially outlawed slavery across the entire country. Yay! Due to his popularity, Lincoln won a second term, resulting in his victory against the southern states. Finally, Lincoln left behind a great and mighty legacy. He left a united America. He left freedom for the African American people. And he created a Reconstruction era. Unfortunately, one day, Lincoln went to the Ford's Theater for a night off. On that day, a sinister man entered the Ford's Theater after Lincoln and did the unthinkable. John Fitzgerald Kennedy, the 35th President of the United States of America, and the youngest stud to ever be a president. JFK was a somewhat well-known individual before his 1960 election, as he was the representative of the state of Massachusetts in the Senate. But his popularity skyrocketed during the 1960 elections, where he and his running mate, Lyndon B. Johnson, together became one of the most popular choices for American people. Kennedy's candidacy was questioned by southern states. Since he was a Catholic, many claimed that he was more obedient to the Pope than to the United States. However, northern Catholics balanced the vote in order to defend their faith and voted for Kennedy. On November 8, 1960, Kennedy beat Richard Nixon in one of the closest presidential elections of all time, leading in popular vote by only 0.2%. Kennedy supported racial integration and civil rights, and in his first State of the Union address, he said, "The denial of constitutional rights to some of our fellow Americans on account of race at the ballot box and elsewhere disturbs the national conscience." This Executive Order 10925 on March 6, 1961, Kennedy enacted affirmative action, requiring government contractors to employ without worrying about race, creed, color, or nation of origin. Later on, during Kennedy's era, the involvement in Vietnam by America increased incredibly. He assigned a large amount of military advisors to foster political stability in South Vietnam, but ended up enacting a coup against the pro-American Diem government instead. His addition of troops was one of the first examples of flexible response policy. On April 17, 1961, Kennedy authorized the Bay of Pigs invasion, in which 1,500 Cuban exiles were sent to Cuba in an attempt to overthrow the communist government of Fidel Castro. Within 2 days, the exiles were either captured or killed, leading the negotiations where Kennedy gave $53 million worth of food and medical supplies to Cuba in order to save the 189 surviving invaders. On October 14, 1962, US saw Soviet intermediate-range ballistic missiles stationed in Cuba. If the site was attacked by the US, this might provoke nuclear war, but if the missiles were ignored, there would be a constant threat of Soviet weapons near the US. Kennedy decided on a naval inspection of Soviet ships arriving in Cuba. On October 28, Premier Khrushchev agreed to dismantle the missiles near the site of Cuba if US agreed to dismantle the missiles their missiles in Turkey. When this agreement was met, any future possibility of nuclear war was stopped. On November 22nd of 1963, while in Dallas, Texas, Kennedy was shot and killed. Thank you for attention.